Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Star Wars Rebels episode review. This one's going to be for Season 2, Episode 1, The Lost Commanders. Obviously, the whole episode numbering thing is still a bit up in the air just because they seem to start every season off with a mini movie that's not really Episode 1 because it's a movie. But yeah, my numbering scheme that I'm going to go with is that this is Episode 1 of Season 2. And the Siege of Lothal was just Season 2 mini movie. But anyway, yeah, Lost Commanders. I really liked this episode a lot. I thought it was a really good job at kind of using the fact that we've now introduced more stuff from the Clone Wars. You know, Ahsoka is back as a character who's going to be in throughout the season, and then bringing Rex, Gregor, and Wolf into this episode as our kind of clones who didn't participate in Order 66. What was a really interesting kind of use of clones. And the whole premise for the episode is that okay, the rebels kind of suffered a little bit in the Siege of Lothal. They need to find somewhere to establish a base. So Ahsoka kind of goes like, oh, well, I know this one leader guy who potentially could know some stuff because he knows a lot about the Outer Rim. And, going in, I knew there was going to be some stuff with the clones, so I knew straight away that this is what she was referring to. But what I really liked was how kind of vague she was and how she specifically says, oh, I can't go on this mission. You guys just go. And she seems to kind of be aware of the fact that Kanan participated in Order 66, was there when it happened, I mean. And obviously, we don't know the full details about what Ahsoka was doing during Order 66, but obviously she wasn't involved, is the case. But she seems to be aware of the fact that Kanan is not going to react particularly well to getting help from clones. And just the way she leaves him with just the kind of advice of trust him, and the way she actually Eckstein says this line was really well done, because you could tell that it was meant to be this kind of piece of advice, but she's not trying to force it too heavily onto him. And it was just interesting throughout the entire episode how differently everyone reacted to the clones, and that Kanan was like, no, not having any involvement with clones, and you understand him. And when they do meet them, you understand exactly all of his reactions because of what he's been through. And if anyone out there who has read the first 5 issues of the Kanan the Last Padawan comic series from Marvel, you will have seen exactly those scenes of Order 66 happening on him and his master, and the death of his master and what happened, how close he was getting to the clones that were around him, and how big of a betrayal that was for him. So that was a nice scene to get in the show, having read those comics, and it was just very nicely done. And, as well as that, I liked how they didn't go overboard with Kanan being anti-clone. In that, yes, there were specific scenes where, like, you could see that he wasn't too interested, but he wasn't, like, aggressively against them. Like, always kind of sneaking around saying, no, we shouldn't trust him and stuff like that. He was just kind of like, everyone else was kind of being enthusiastic around them, and he was just kind of staying back and not wanting to get involved too much. And I like that, because I think too many shows would go down the road of him being aggressively, like, against them and, like, just no involvement, maybe leaving or being very antagonistic towards them. But they didn't do that. And the clones themselves, I think, just the way they kind of put them across was like, they're older now, so they're not like incredible threats, but they're still soldiers. But there's this kind of sense of the war has been a while now, and their personality is coming out a lot more now than just, I'm clone this name clone, where they're all roughly the same with like a hint of personality. Now the personality comes across a lot more. So Rex is the very level-headed one that the war, you can tell, has affected the least. Like, he still has the most perspective on things. Gregor seems to have been affected probably the most, in that he's a bit insane. He's kind of the hunter guy of the group, and like always talking about the wanting to hunt and catch game, and like he's willing to use Zeb as bait and stuff like that. And then Wolf, you can tell, is kind of more affected in the sense of he's constantly fearing about their safety and stuff like that. He fires on the group before they even know who they are and nearly causes an incident. He's the one who calls the Empire in this episode to cause most of the drama in the episode. And I kind of liked how different they all were, showing that even though they're all technically the same person due to being clones, that all of them have different personalities and they're all very different. And in general, it was cool to get to see them with this heavily modified, Republic Walker that they've kind of transformed into this kind of walking house base fishing boat type thing was really kind of well done as well. And, I talked about Kanan, how he reacted to the clones, but it was interesting to see Ezra kind of being so interested in them, and that Ezra really trusts Ahsoka and everything that she says, and he keeps that perspective like, she told us to trust them, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, and can really kind of get understand what Rex is about and stuff like that. And there were some really nice moments in this, and that Kanan finally begins to talk to Ezra about his experiences during Order 66, and basically just says, like, 1 second we were best friends, the next they'd killed my master, they betrayed us, that's how quickly they turned on him. And it was interesting to find out that Kanan at some point heard about the fact that clones were saying that it was a chip in their head that caused them to do what they did, and that they never actually, like, meant it. That is a really interesting reveal for me, in that I'm kind of wondering where exactly he got that from. Like, they specifically say in this episode that the clones were retired from service by the Emperor because they were getting too old, because obviously they're kind of double accelerated aging and stuff like that. But it was just kind of interesting to kind of see that even the clones were given retirement and maybe not just killed and stuff like that. That Rex was seemingly just let go. Like, there's still a lot of backstory around Rex that we don't know. Like, he mentions that him, Gregor, and Wolf all had their chips removed. Now, I'm not remembering those lost episodes, Clone Wars seasons, that well, but it was Fives, and then who was the clone that he told? I can't remember exactly, but Fives for sure got his out, and then told at least one of the other clones. Did he get back to Rex? I really need to watch those episodes again just to figure out how exactly, like, who was told about the chips in their heads and who wasn't, and how exactly those episodes ended. But either way, a couple of the clones had theirs taken out, and it was just interesting that only a very select few, like Gregor, got his out, and Wolf got his out. Like, Wolf wasn't really in the Clone Wars all that much. Maybe like 2 or 3 times. I think he was Plo Koon's commander that he had with him. So we saw him in most of the episodes with Plo Koon, but he was never like the most kind of characterful clone that we saw in the show. To the point where, like, it was a little bit of a surprise to me that he was here, but the reason is because he's Clone Commander Wolf, and Dave Filoni has this kind of fan group thing that he has himself called the Wolf Pack, and he inducts kind of important members of the Star Wars fan community into it, and that's why the Wolf Pack is so important to him, and I think it explains why Commander Wolf is one of these 3 clones. Gregor is interesting that the last time we saw him, he was assumed dead. I think most people assumed that he somehow survived, but he was assumed dead. He's a Republic commando. He was caught in an explosion in those Meeber Gascon episodes, that small guy. And that was just interesting and weird that he's just like, oh, Gregor's here. So I have a feeling that at some point we're going to have to get the backstory on these 3 guys. Like, I think Rex specifically, like, I really want to know what happened, because it seems like the 3 of them didn't, like, abandon the Empire. They specifically all got retirement. And to the point where Rex seems to still consider himself part of the 501st, but we know that he wasn't the commander who led the attack on the Jedi Temple. That was like Commander Appo or something like that, I think his name was, that Anakin led in the massacre at the Jedi Temple. So where was Rex during this? Did he leave before that? There's a lot of questions about these clones that I think kind of need to be answered at some point. How did Gregor survive? How did, that means Wolf would have to have left before Plo Koon and whoever his commander was at that point in time went to the planet he was on. I think it might have been Cato Nemoidia, but I'm not really sure about that. That in the Order 66 scene, Plo Koon is flying when he's shot down. So Wolf wasn't his commander then. There's a lot of questions that for sure I think need to be answered at some point. But either way, I was happy to. It's not a negative about this episode that I didn't get those stories, but it's like, okay, we're gonna at the very least have these guys for one more episode. I would like to know their stories. But the main plot here is that the Empire gets a message, and you're kind of wondering throughout the episode which one of the clones called the Empire basically on the rebels. And you kind of know for a fact, like, it's not Rex, because he's helping them out. He's the one being wise and showing that he knows stuff. Gregor seems like too excited about capturing this Juka, or I can't really remember the name of the animal, something like that. He seems so excited and into that, using them, that he couldn't be the guy. So it has to be Wolf, who's the one who's been very kind of like antagonistic, protective. So you know straight away that it's him, and then the reveal comes out, and then they find the probe droid and destroy it, but they know the Empire is coming, and because of what happened, they can't get off the planet, and so they're kind of preparing for an attack from the Empire, and that's what we're going to get with these guys. So that's a nice setup. All the while, Hera and Chopper are up in space trying to repair the Ghost, which had hyperdrive problems, and there's some good stuff going on here for sure. Only other thing to talk about is just one thing I kind of left out there. It's that scene where Rex reveals that he and the rest of them took out their chips, got their chips removed. That's a big one because you can see that kind of Kanan has kind of painted all the clones with one brush, and then this reveal that these guys actually specifically didn't take part in Order 66, they didn't take down their Jedi or betray them, that you felt a little bit guilty. And the especially as the episode progresses and like towards the end, I think it's Gregor hands the staff to Kanan and says, "Here you go, General." Obviously, he's so used to calling any Jedi a general. Kanan says, "No, well, what are you calling me that for? I'm not a general. I was never a general." And he says, "Oh, sorry, Commander," obviously assuming that, oh, you're still pretty young, you must have only been Padawan, so Commander. That was a really nice line because you can see that these three clones still have a ton of respect for the Jedi and support the Jedi, are willing to help here. And you could see that through Rex, through Gregor, and Wolf not so much, but I assume he'll do something in the next episode to redeem himself for kind of betraying them, because I also like the way they did that in the episode, and that Rex quickly figured out that it was Wolf, but they didn't just go to like take Wolf down. There wasn't like a fight and Wolf is evil now. He was just trying to protect the guys because they were kind of not thinking about the dangers that were happening, and Rex just kind of has to say to him, the war is over now, there's no need to deal with the Empire at all. We're going to help these guys. Like, you shouldn't have done that, but I don't hate you for this. Like, I liked that it wasn't just this typical, oh no, he's betrayed us, let's kill him or take him out or something like that. No, it makes sense given his character that he did that, and it makes sense that Rex wouldn't just take him out. And it also shows that Rex isn't willing to betray the people that he's been close to for a while, even if they make mistakes, and that's showing just how kind of loyal he is. And they did give Rex his big moment, getting to shoot out basically snipe the probe droid, so that was pretty cool as well. Another thing to talk about is obviously them trying to catch this giant animal, this giant caterpillar thing that they basically just established. Yeah, we need to catch this because it's going to give us a year of food, and it's just a little fishing thing. Basically, they use energy lines. They use Zeb as bait. That they don't tell him that it's him as bait, and they just Ezra helps save the day, electrocuting the line, and it was a nice scene, but there's not a lot really to talk about. It was like kind of unexpected scene to happen in the episode. Like, okay, first episode, Star Wars Rebels Season 2, it's the episode with Rex. Let's do this weird on-land fishing thing with a giant slug-like thing. But it worked. So yeah, I was very happy with this first episode. We end with a big to be continued, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. I hope it's not just, a random battle like, oh, let's fight with these guys and stuff like that. That they actually do something. Maybe as reinforcements, I'd like Ahsoka to arrive to get his reaction to seeing her again. Because obviously we find out that Ahsoka had been sending messages to him, but Wolf had been kind of not giving them to Rex. So that explains that. And just how much respect Rex seems to have for Ahsoka, and how he's eager to kind of see her again. So that would be a nice relationship I'd like to get to see again in terms of predictions for next episode. But given how she specifically didn't come on the mission, I don't know if we'll see that again. I think they'll do something with Wolf as some sort of redemption thing. I think we might see Kanan come in to protect the clones if they get themselves into some trouble, and have that be a sort of reunion thing, development for Kanan getting over his kind of dislike of the clones. But we'll see what happens. Either way, good episode, and I'm excited for next week. And in that sense, the premiere accomplished everything it needed to do. So I was very happy with the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were. Other than that, that's been the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.